Welcome to The Kid is in School, where we talk about whatever we want since our kid is not here to interrupt us. But we don't have a lot of time before the bell rings, so let's get right into it. Jerry Seinfeld has made headlines lately, not just for having a Pop-Tart movie, but also for, and I'm going to get this wrong, complaining about woke culture? Is that correct?
I'm not so sure that's exactly what he was doing.
Okay.
I think people extrapolated it out to things that he wasn't talking about. So I think that he was specifically talking about there not being any good television sitcoms on TV right now that because of PC culture is what he called it.
Right.
Of just, I guess he thinks that you can't say anything, so therefore it's hard to be funny.
It's so funny that that's his theory of why there's quote unquote not good television right now, because for one, I think it ebbs and flows, but two, I would be more inclined to blame it on wherever the money is. You know, like what are the studio heads doing with the money and who are they investing in right now? Is it like all influencers and reality TV, or are they paying writers well? And after the writers' strike, we all heard that like writers are not getting nearly what they should be with regard to these streaming deals. So it's so funny that he thinks it's about what people will and won't allow to be said on TV versus the actual state of the money.
Okay, I'm following that logic, I think.
I thought, well, it's just discussion we've heard over the past months, or I guess since last summer, that the problem with TV and content right now is not that you're not allowed to say this or that. That's a problem with comedy on stage, I think, but not the problem with comedy on TV. I think the problem where you see a lot of generic TV shows or what gets greenlit right now is safe stuff that will likely make money with the audience that's consuming them at home. But if the majority of the audience is on the internet and they're streaming, well, then they're trying to get people to stream for different things. Like Euphoria is not a comedy. It's like a sex dramedy for kids. That sounds horrible.
For kids?
For young people.
Yeah. Just be clear what you mean by kids. Is that as
20, adults in their 20s.
As you get middle-aged, somebody that's 25 is a kid.
They are. Yeah. I say kid for everybody. So yeah, I was just floating different theories and thinking it's funny. But I thought you had something interesting to say when we discussed it the other day, which was he is not saying anything new to him. He's still on brand, because even when he ran the Seinfeld show, even when he worked on Seinfeld, he was constantly battling with the FCC and what you can and can't say and who will greenlight what brand you can use.
Okay, I don't think I was the person that said this to you, but...
Well, it's the you I talk to when you're not around. I have to keep chattering endlessly, so...
Yeah, but there definitely was stories of that. You know, just the workarounds. So they had the contest episode, and... they never actually say anything. They just kind of allude to it.
To what they're betting on and what the actions are that breaks the bet. Exactly.
Right. And so I think in particular constrictions in comedy can lead to creativity.
For sure.
Now, in terms of why there might not be a ton of funny comedies on television, I'm not sure that it's just PC culture or something along those lines. But I do think that there's probably smaller writers' rooms, and streaming has produced a lot of that. So they're probably, I've never been in a full-on writer's room for a TV show, but I can imagine, based on some of the people I know that have written for television, that these rooms are half full of people that aren't funny. And so...
But how'd they get the job?
Man, I wish I had the answer to all that.
Okay.
But there are people who I have known that have written for television who are very funny.
Right.
And there are people that I'm like, you've not said one funny thing I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, so you mean the people who kind of fail upwards, or the people who fall backwards into a lucky position?
Yeah, and sometimes that's...
And it's not necessarily due to talent.
Right, sometimes that's nepotism, sometimes that's connections, sometimes maybe they had a great packet or something that somebody liked.
Or social climbing. Sometimes people are good at kissing the right butts.
Could be any of that. And so if you have a smaller writer's room, well, you're going to have probably fewer of both, funny and unfunny people. But if you have fewer funny people, you have fewer of those people to compensate for the unfunny people. So let's just say the writer's room goes from 8 down to 4.
Right.
Well, you're maybe cutting half the funny people out.
Yeah, maybe so.
So.
Just for fun, I'm going to take a different tact. I'm going to say everybody in a writer's room is funny, but they're all mediocre funny. I mean, let's say the average person who works hard at being funny is not hilarious all the time. That's what I mean by that. So that I include myself in that group. Like I can't hit, the bullseye every time when I go on stage, but that's how you hone it, But I do think they have the skill to hone it, but are they motivated to do that? Or are they just like constantly stressed and working against a deadline? Like there's all these factors I think that play into what keeps somebody who could be otherwise creatively inclined and funny from excelling in that environment. And also, there are funnier people out there that don't have that job that these funny people got, like to me, that's like college. Everybody that gets into college has an aptitude for learning and can get good grades, but they're not all designed to get straight A's. And there are other kids that are much smarter that didn't get into the college because they got rejected by admissions. So maybe that's your theory too. Maybe that's exactly what you're saying. But I just, I think it's a little too cynical for me to allow myself to think that there are people who are just not talented getting these jobs.
Well, the way stand-up can work sometimes, this is a little different than television writing, but the way stand-up can work sometimes is you go, well, how did this person get an opening gig for this other person?
Yeah.
And there are comics who hire weak opening acts because it makes them look funnier. And so, that's not naming any names, and that's not certainly all of comedy in general. I don't think that Chappelle gets weak openers. I don't think he needs to.
I hire a turtle, and I just put it on a wooden stump, and I let people stare at that for 10 minutes.
Yeah, so that's still funnier than some of the openers. But so you go, oh, well, how did this person get? They're not very good. And it's like, yeah, that they might want that. They might want somebody who can fulfill the job technically of like do the time and be on stage, but also not bomb, but not really crush.
Right. And you've heard that about SNL casting. Like they would rather have someone a little green or a little wet behind the ears than someone super, super powerhouse talented. So when someone's been in the business for 20 years and everybody's told them their whole life, why aren't you on SNL yet? It's like, I auditioned. They didn't choose me. And then you think, was I not funny enough? And it's like, sometimes they want someone that is unknown and you've done a lot of work, let's just say. So yeah, there was a guest on Club Shay Shay who comes to mind who I'm not going to name. So I'm not just talking about, it sounded like I was talking about myself, but I'm not.
Yeah, well, there's people who...
It's not Isaiah Thomas either.
Yeah, and all of this is going to sound like sour grapes, or it also, there's going to be people out there who will never admit to any of this. Like, no, it's a meritocracy. The funny people get the funny jobs, and that's just the way it is. Well,
yeah, that's what I was trying not to sound like. I was trying to be very specific to not be like, come on, Luke.
Yeah, and I think I think there are plenty of funny people that get jobs, and and also let's just say less funny people. I don't begrudge them anything. It's not. Why would they not seek a job and take a job?
For real.
It doesn't make any
exactly.
sense. But I do think that, back to Jerry Seinfeld's point, he wasn't talking about stand-up in general and all of this. He was just, I think, talking about sitcoms. Well, there are a lot of things being made right now. So to say that there's no funny sitcoms,
right?
Well, I think it's much more fragmented. So I certainly think Curb Your Enthusiasm was funny and didn't worry about being PC.
Right. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is another one fans came up with.
Yeah. And so, and the one, I used Curb Your Enthusiasm because people were like, weren't you just on the finale that everybody watched like 2 weeks ago.
Right. And
So,
now you're complaining now that that's over. There's no longer any good TV.
It ended 2 weeks ago. Is that what you're saying? So, but, and I know people like to rip into Jerry Seinfeld on this and to act like he's just out of touch. It's like, I don't think so. I think that there is an element of that. I do think it's a little overblown. Like, you can't say anything anymore. It's like, well, what audience are you trying to reach? So Kevin Hart's not trying to say everything that he would want to say. Anything that could get him canceled, he's cutting out. He's not doing that anymore. Like, he's done with that. And so, because he has bigger aspirations, he wants a very wide audience. Jay Leno, when he was on the air for many years, he wanted a wide audience. He called it big tent comedy. I want something for everybody here.
Right.
And there are people like maybe Shane Gillis or something like that, who he has his demographic because of his podcast, because of his videos, now with his Netflix stuff. He can be very targeted. He doesn't need to focus on being something for everybody. And because of the fragmented nature of entertainment now, you kind of don't have to be. Right. On the flip side, there's things like dry bar comedy, clean comedy, these massively successful comedy specials from clean comics, and a lot of them are older who are very seasoned, and they don't have to try to be everything there. They don't have to try to be dirty or edgy or un-PC or anti-woke or anything like that. They can just go be clean, funny comedy for that demographic, and they're going to have plenty of sex. They're not going to have that. They're going to play plenty of success.
They might have plenty of sex.
Yeah,
they might get lucky.
It's the clean comedy, so probably not. So, not that kind of groupies. So
that's the truth.
Yeah.
That makes me think it'd be a funny sketch of like the clean comedians groupies.
Yeah.
And they're all just very mild mannered.
Yeah. Would you sign my bonnet?
Yeah. So I was thinking, sign my cross stitch.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yes, I agree with you. I was going to say, my mind started to wander and think about like all the ways in which for example, when you said this isn't sour grapes, it's going to sound like sour grapes. And I thought, what can you say to keep someone from twisting it into that? And I also don't think anyone thinks it's a meritocracy anymore, except for the people who refuse to acknowledge that they've been lucky in moments. Everybody's hardworking. A lot of people are hardworking. And then a lot of people, everybody is lucky. You got some lucky moments. I think everyone can think of a time when they got lucky. So to discount it is just so silly to me. But I think the difference between having sour grapes and being bitter about what you don't have, or saying simply, yeah, not everyone can get everything, is you like a lot about your career. You can still speak to some of that stuff. So yes, a lot of comics, most comics, all comics don't get everything they want. I think even if you interviewed, if someone, the top dogs right now come to mind, Dave Chappelle, Amy Schumer, if you ask them, did they get Martin Short? Did you get everything you wanted? Absolutely, they would say no. Like, no, there are things I didn't get. And sometimes it's public, what they didn't get. So a long way around just to say, golly, what was my point? I don't know. Sounded good, didn't it? And our dog is staring at us, and he's got crossed eyes, so it's super cute.
Maybe you just don't need a point.
No, I don't have a point.
The point is our dog has crossed eyes.
Our dog is also a half Shar Pei, so he's got these wrinkles that make him look angry all the time. So he just looks like he's frowning at me with crossed eyes. He's like Devo in next Friday, or Friday,
Yeah.
So, what do you want? You told me to squish your little head. He's so cute. So yeah, I was thinking, is there any way not to come across like you have sour grapes? And the answer is no, and don't sweat it.
Nah.
Someone's always going to say what they want to say.
People can think what they want to think about it. Who cares? Yeah. That's one thing I'm starting to come to a place of not caring about every little thing that somebody thinks. Like, look, if you think I think that, fine, whatever. Who cares?
Right. You know who I saw recently in a train station? Amanda Seales.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yep, I was coming back from Baltimore, and she had just finished. She's on the Unlikable tour. She finished her trip to Baltimore. Her stop in Baltimore, and she was headed to Boston. And she called my name. She was like, Abby. And it's been a long time since someone's called my name in a city I've never been or I haven't been in a while. So I was like, I definitely heard my name. I'm turning around. Sometimes if you're in, a shopping mall and you hear Abby, it's just some woman talking to her kid or some person walking their dog, typically. Not in a shopping mall, but on the street. So anyway, I turned around and it was breakfast time. So she was on the phone. So I was like, hey, I gave her a hug. I said, I'm so proud of you. You're working so hard. And then she goes, you go ahead and get your breakfast and then we'll talk. And I got a donut, but I got 2. And knowing that she's, I don't know if she has ADHD. She talks openly about having autism, but I have ADHD. So I was like, I know I like sugar and carbs in the morning. I know she's going to want some. And she took my donut. I mean, she after the donut I offered her. And then that's all. We just had a donut and chatted, talked about tour and life and work. And then that was it.
Cool.
Went on our separate ways. But it was really nice seeing. It made my day just to have somebody, because where my mind was going in the morning was, I hate the train. I hope I get a seat. I hope I face the right direction. And, they only have a Dunkin' Donuts here. I wanted something else. So I was just in my funk. And then someone goes, Abby, and gives you a hug. And you're like, oh, hi. Snap me out of it.
Well, that's fun. Yeah, this is not the point you were making. But I've noticed you keep referring to desserts as carbs. Like you're like, I really want some carbs, and it's
not in this episode, but throughout the evening, I think.
Throughout the day, you have referred to things saying, "Oh, I just really want some carbs." I think maybe even yesterday when we were on the phone, you said you wanted carbs. You're craving carbs.
That's what I said to her when I said, "Would you like a donut?" And she said, "I'd love a donut." And I said, "Sugar and carbs."
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'm excited about it. Carbs is like a buzzword to me of like, yay.
Yes, and I don't know. I'm trying to maybe drill down to why you're doing that because
it's new, right? You're identifying this as unusual behavior in me.
Well, the fact that you're saying it so many times. Now, you've said I want carbs over the years, but I'm noticing that it does not refer to pasta. You're not going, I want pasta, or I want you're like, it's very specific. I want cake,
something sweet,
cookies, candy.
But do you remember when I used to cakes and cookies and pies? Do you remember when I used to say, I want nutrients, and I would say fruit? Like I would say, I want vitamins and nutrients, and you were like, why do you keep saying it that way?
Yeah.
This was years ago, but I was like, what do you mean? I don't know. This is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think my mind gets on
you
like
say
a
protein?
I say protein instead of meat.
Yes.
I get on a one-track mind. I don't know.
Well, it's like you're breaking it down to the macronutrients, but
yeah,
but not in ways that they are healthy or known for.
When do I reveal to you that I'm a poorly made robot? I'm Alan Thicke's robot and Not Quite Human. Do you remember Not Quite Human on the Disney Channel?
Vaguely.
Nobody does. Nobody but my friend Courtney knows this reference right now.
Well, let's hope she's listening.
Oh,
so somebody can get it.
Or am I confusing that with The Boy Who Could Fly? I can't remember, but the difference between Not Quite Human and The Boy Who Could Fly.
Alan Thicke was not in The Boy Who Could Fly.
Thank you, but it was the same actor.
It was the same kid.
Yeah.
I think, because that's vaguely familiar, him being in both. I knew The Boy That Could Fly because we had a Betamax tape of that.
Wow, so you've probably seen it more times than I have.
Yeah, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
I know that his sister, maybe she's in Not Quite Human, but there's a woman that plays a sister with red hair who was in, she was in Teenage Witch, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. No, Teen Witch. Sorry, that's different from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But you might know her from Karate Kid as, I don't know, the redhead lady from Karate Kid. Number 3?
You have to be more specific than maybe number 3?
Number 2. It's not number 2.
It's not number
Kimiko
1.
is in number 2. Yeah, anyway. I love number 2. The trip to Japan. It's such a beautiful movie. It stands on its own.
Don't try to get away from this carb thing.
Okay, fine. What were we talking about? Carbs.
Proteins.
There's nothing wrong with me saying carbs and proteins. What? Because I'm not Joe Rogan, I'm not allowed to talk about the macros?
You're not one of the buff dudes.
I'm not one of the buff dudes, so I don't have a right?
It's just, I don't know. It just, what you mean is I want to eat a donut, not I need carbs. Because
oh, you think maybe I'm hiding the fact or lying to myself about what I really want. Maybe because I don't want someone to be like, a donut.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. No one at Dunkin' Donuts will look at me and go, "You want a donut?"
Well, it's kind of their job to sell you the donut.
Exactly. So, I should just tell them I want a donut.
Yeah.
Like, I don't say I would like carbs to them.
Would you like 12 of them?
Yeah. I want 12 of your carbs. So yeah, I think you're right. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I don't want judgment, so I am, in my own mind, masking it. I'm using a code.
I guess you don't ever say, I want fats.
So maybe I don't want fats. Maybe I just want the carbs that then convert into sugar, and then that gets stored as fat.
Fats in the donuts.
That gets stored as fats. Yeah, but there's more sugar than fat. I don't think of donut as the grease they fry it in. I think of it as the yeast and the flour and the sugar.
Okay.
What? There's fat in that too?
No, not necessarily, but
Think.
All of it gets converted to fat.
That's what I just said. Yeah, I like with the carbs to turn into sugar that my body will either use or then store and then turn into fat.
Right. So really, you want simple carbs.
Simple carbs.
Yes. You do not want complex carbohydrates.
No. I'm not craving a slice of toast with birdseed on the outside edge, the crust.
That's still probably simple.
Oh, are they? Well, what's a complex carb? Ezekiel bread?
Probably something like that. But I think that there would be things like maybe broccoli has complex carbohydrates in it, slow digestion.
That's nice. Once, I know during the pandemic, I got so tired of eating the same waffles and oatmeal every day that I just made myself a bowl of spaghetti bolognese, and it was fantastic.
Okay.
So that's like, one day I would eat like a sweet potato, just baked sweet potato plain. I would eat that. In fact, I usually don't want a sweet potato with anything else.
Okay.
Sweet potato messes up a meal, but if you eat it on its own, then you can appreciate it. That's my philosophy on sweet potatoes.
Okay. I'm glad that you have a philosophy on sweet potatoes.
Yeah. So you were saying you don't crave complex carbs. You don't say, "Hey, I just love some broccoli," but sometimes I would like some broccoli.
Okay.
All right.
Very rarely, because I don't. Every time I make it, you're like, yeah.
Well, in episode 17, we discussed why I don't like your style of cooking broccoli.
Yeah, but you don't cook it yourself.
I don't, but you could roast it. It always goes bad, broccoli. Or we buy it frozen, and I don't know how to deal with frozen broccoli because you can't roast. Maybe you can.
I think you sent me a video on how to roast
frozen broccoli. Oh, man. Well, I didn't save that one. I mean, I didn't save that in my mind. Because whenever I look at broccoli frozen, I just go, ice. It's just going to be a pool of water and soft green.
I think just a little quick Google search can tell you how to do this.
Yeah, I guess. You want me to make you some broccoli? You craving some broccoli? No? Okay, well then you don't need to tell me what to do because
I'm not craving fiber right now.
You're not craving fiber or complex carbohydrates. I was bothered by, since you're wait, I should ask you directly. Are you bothered by the fact that I say carbs?
Bothered's maybe too strong a word. I notice it.
And how does it make you feel? No feeling at all? Very neutral?
Confusion.
You're feeling confused.
Yeah, like, why are
well,
you
I don't feel confused when you do this, but I did draw my attention to it, which was you stood while eating lunch meat. You just took lunch meat out of the container, started eating it, standing to yourself with your back to me. Yeah.
No, that wasn't lunch meat. That was riced broccoli or riced cauliflower.
That was riced cauliflower?
Yeah, I was eating with a fork.
But before that, you didn't open up a container of turkey and just start eating the turkey straight out of it?
Nope, we don't have any. We're out. So.
And are we out because you once stood up and ate turkey?
I might have done that at some point, but that was not this evening.
Why do you stand when you eat? This is my question for you.
Why does it bother you? Is maybe
I'll answer that after you answer yours.
I'm standing and I want to eat, and I don't see any need to like rest my weary bones while I. What's the difference, like if I go sit on a couch and versus if I stand up next to it?
Well, in Jesus' day, didn't he lie down to eat? Didn't they all recline their whole
body?
Mediterranean
thing?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Well, I'm allergic to this topic. It's
bless you.
I think that's a lounge thing, right? Like they'd have like a cushion on the ground and everyone kind of lounge around, and that's not
right. The reason I asked that is like if we have gone from wanting to lay down while we eat to sitting while we eat, I don't know if standing is the next level of like that's going to catch
There's
the trend.
Desks.
There are standing desks. I don't know how many people like those.
Why couldn't I have a standing dinner table?
I would rather eat on a yoga ball than eat standing. That's all. I hate standing personally, as we know in episode 52, when I didn't get further work at Donato's Pizzeria because I refused to stand at the cash register. I wanted to squat when we didn't have any customers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think one, it makes me, I'm doing that thing where I'm overreaching, like it's not my body, it's your body, but I'm still like, why are you standing? Isn't that tiresome? And you're thinking, no, I quite enjoy this.
So is that why you say it to me?
One, what used to be, I didn't like you to hover because you would be in the kitchen and I would be sitting at the table. And sometimes there would be you'd say, there's too much clutter at the seats. I'm going to stand and eat. I'm like, yeah, but you're over my shoulder. Let me just clear the space for you. And I'd clear it and you'd sit down. This time the table was clear. You could have sat. You chose not to. And I don't know why. And it's because you're more comfortable standing, I guess, right?
I'm not having dinner. I'm not like having a 3-course meal here. I'm just having a snack, basically.
A snack of rice with fork in a dish.
Riced cauliflower.
Riced cauliflower came from a dish, though. You weren't reaching into a bag to eat it. You were, using silverware.
Yeah, but it only takes me to hold the item in one hand with fork in the other and eat.
I'd like you to build a bit on this. If you really, really enjoy it, I would like you to actually explain yourself because you have not done. You've been evasive this whole time. You have a secret reason that you like to stand and eat, and I don't know what it is.
I think that you're overthinking it. That's all.
I guess as much as you're overthinking my saying carbs, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe I'm overthinking the carbs thing, but it's just peculiar, and that's peculiar.
But you're standing while eating is not peculiar. Nobody we know does that.
That's not.
You're the only person you know that stands and eats rice from a bowl.
That is not true. And my friend Tim was in town, and he also likes to stand and eat.
Is he a professional toll booth operator?
From the 1980s?
Because that's the only person I could think of that would stand while eating their lunch.
So I think that guys in general have are more likely to do that.
Yeah. When I shot a sketch for Colbert, one of them, I was eating a late night dinner and they said, you're standing over the sink eating it. And I just was so grossed out. I was like, ew, who does that? But, in their mind's eye, my character did that. Mm-hmm. So I did it. So yeah, it's a thing, I guess. I just want to sit and eat.
I think you want to just sit at all times.
I want to just sit. I do.
And for some reason, other people standing tires you out.
You know what I never had? Yeah, that's some major tiredness. That's fatigue right there. You know what I never had that I always wanted? A treehouse. Did you ever have a friend who had a treehouse, or you have one of your own?
I did not have one. I think by the time I was a kid, it was more forts. Like the people had forts in their yards, not up in trees. So it was almost like a standalone structure, and or attached to a playground equipment type of thing.
Cool. Was that a converted shed or just like
no? It's
fort.
Specifically designed backyard kid.
That's so cute. Stuff. My friend had a backyard. Hers looked like a little guest house, but it was truly for kids. It was only tall enough for kids. Had a miniature sofa inside. I thought it was the coolest thing, but that was essentially a fort.
Yes, those type of things. So I think tree houses maybe was from like Leave It to Beaver era, and they maybe don't do those as much anymore.
Maybe you're right. Like the average parent, for me, for example, if my kid wanted one, I wouldn't know the first thing of how to build one.
I do,
and I wouldn't think it was safe.
In Missouri, so that's where I was born, but I didn't grow up there. We came back to visit, and so maybe I was like between 8 and 10 or so, and somebody had a tree house. Yeah. But it was, I didn't go, I don't even know if I went fully up into it because they had a rope ladder to get in. And those are so wobbly and require core strength or something.
Yeah, it reminds me of like getting onto a helicopter and being rescued somewhere. Hang on.
Yeah, so I think I maybe got 3 rungs up and I'm like, I can't do this.
I'm out.
I don't think I've ever been in a treehouse. Well, I got to go up there and I got to do pull-ups to get inside of it. And
my uncle was known for climbing one of these tall towers. I don't even know what kind of signal tower it was, but this is a small town in Indiana. He climbed all the way to the top, and my cousin and I thought that was such a great story, and I don't think any of the adults that told that story expected us to try it, but we did, and we did not get far up that thing at all before we were like, yo, this is like so much higher than we thought. And apparently when you get up there, it starts to really sway.
Yeah. Was your Uncle Arnie from What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Yeah. Dang. I want to quote that movie so bad, but I can't think of any of his lines.
Yeah.
Match in the gas tank. Boom, boom. What's Eating Gilbert Grape? I've seen that movie so many times.
I think I've only seen it once, but.
And you saw it later after Johnny Depp wasn't, Johnny Depp anymore. So.
I saw it 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, so you probably thought, like, what is this movie about? I remember a movie. I'll tell you after. I'll tell you after the show because I don't think it's not for this audience.
Okay.
Let me just say this.
It's not PC.
Well,
you can't say nothing anymore.
It's fine. It's just probably a little too obscure and dull. But I will say this: it was Leo DiCaprio. I just had this flashback of seeing him before I knew him in Titanic and knew him as a celebrity in a movie where he played a French painter's boy toy who, like, I want to say Ribaud, like Ribaud. Anyway, Blue Danube, the man who, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I was going to say it's too obscure for me, not your audience, me.
I know, but you care about me, so you'll be patient and listen to me to get there. I had this whole connection to it too. I was like, this is the reason he only dates 20-somethings is because he popped up in, this is awful. I know I shouldn't talk about it, but I'm going to say it anyway. His image popped up in that new Nickelodeon docuseries about, what's it called? Quiet on the Set, which talks about uncomfortable unprofessional working environments that kids that worked in Nickelodeon had to endure in the era of all that. And then it turns into an even darker series that talks about actual abuse. But I mean, more abuse, I should say, because it's pretty abusive to like work on set with somebody who's yelling all the time and making everybody feel uncomfortable. But one of the, what do you call it when someone commits a crime? Criminals. One of the criminals in there had a still photo next to Leo DiCaprio, who was a kid actor in the day. And so I was like, isn't that so crazy that he not only had to work in that environment or with a person presumed that way, who was then later found out to be a criminal, but he also had to play some underage lover of a French painter or something in the 1800s.
I'm kind of starting to zone out on
this. Nope. Here it goes. This is the conspiracy. That's why he only dates women up till age 25 so that he can maintain some sense of, I'm never going to be run by some grown-up again. You know what I mean? Oh, this is deep. This is deep, people.
It's too deep for me.
Okay.
I'm too surfacey.
I tried to warn you. I knew it wasn't going to be good combo, but and you know what? I wanted to do a shorter episode today too. So if we cut that out, this is just going to be a 15-minute episode. Now that I've spent half the time describing that.
Look, Courtney's out there and she's gotten 2 references.
Thank you, Courtney. Although this one was like from French class, so I don't think even she would get that one. That movie was so crazily obscure. Back in the day, people would do, what do they call, independent films, but they would go to art houses and then they wouldn't go to VHS afterwards. Like they would just disappear into the ether. So I don't know how I ever saw this movie.
I don't know anything about it.
I'm going to look it up on IMDb to make sure it wasn't a fever dream.
Yeah, I was going to say this might have been a fever dream because none of that sounds familiar even in the slightest.
Tell me about celebrities you've actually had a dream about. I know Adam Sandler for me, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. These are people who talk to me, who are friends with me in my dreams. Eminem, Madonna. How about you?
I don't remember my dreams like that. So the only thing I remember are nightmares from childhood, and there was never a celebrity in there. There was characters from movies.
Yeah, I was about to say they're movie stars, but they're snakes.
Yeah. So
Indiana Jones's pit of snakes is haunting you in your dreams.
No, I'm sure that I have had, especially being in comedy. There's probably like Jerry Seinfeld or somebody like that popped up in my dream.
Yeah, I think it's so lucky you don't remember your dreams. Because mine, I always, stay with me.
It would be lucky if you didn't remember your dreams.
You would be lucky if I didn't remember my dreams.
Yeah, it's real lucky for you that I don't remember my dreams.
No, I'm just saying to be in your shoes and to just it's like you go into a coma and then you wake up from it. It's like you've gone in surgery under deep anesthesia and then you wake up and you have no recollection of what happened.
I do remember, if I first wake up, and you said what you were dreaming of, I could tell you, but then it doesn't fade. It stays in that short-term memory and then does not get put into long-term memory.
How well do you think you stay in the moment? Because I would describe you then as someone who's probably just focused on what's at hand.
Just in general in life?
Yeah.
I guess I'm mostly in the moment. I was thinking about that with, who was talking about this? Parenting. Bill Burr was talking about parenting, about parents that are like, say, you just got to enjoy the moment and all this. He's like, maybe I'm not enjoying it because I'm trying to raise a kid that, and I go, well, I was walking our child back from school today and I thought, I think I enjoy all the moments. I don't think I'm missing out on anything. I don't think I'm going to look back and regret like, oh, if I'd only, it's like, no, I'm there. I'm present for all of it and enjoying it in the moment, Yeah. And loving it.
Yeah, I love it too. I mean, I love talking about it. That's for sure. Like, the funny things she said, or I'll write down something she did. But when I visited my sister and she said, I bet you're looking forward to those hugs when you get home. And I was like, just picturing my dogs running up to me, giving me unconditional love. And I thought, yeah, if I could tear my daughter away from the TV, maybe she'll give me a hug. And if Luke's not frazzled by the time I get to him, maybe I can get a hug out of him. I'm just picturing the dogs being like, you're back, you perfect woman.
Did they do that for you?
They did, yeah. They came through, but I went for the people first.
Well, I don't know if it was first, but you definitely came for the people.
I gave you a big hug. You know it was first. It was first.
Well, the dogs ran in ahead of me, so I don't.
You're right. They always cut in line. They have no couth. So this is our second season, but we've hit another milestone, and that is that this is our final episode of The Kid is in School.
At least for now.
For now. I would say we're putting it on pause indefinitely until further notice. But we don't have any immediate plans to return because our life has gotten really busy for all the things that are required. Like we would need to do some retooling to get this off the ground and get everybody, you and me, our heads back in the game and on the same page.
Get the whole team back together.
Get the team back together. Let's get the gang back together. So this is usually what's typical in farewell episodes is you go over the highlights. What were your fondest memories of working together with me?
Well, I guess to sum it all up in a way is that you had a goal of having this be a positive touch point for us, and I think it has been. And so that's the most important thing that has come out of this. Yeah,
I don't know what music band to connect it to. Maybe like Beatles. I don't know. They had a really weird breakup, didn't they? The Beatles.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we're not the Beatles, but we're like Fleetwood Mac. Wait, no, they broke up too. Hang on. They actually were together, and then I think some of the members dated, and then they had breakups, and then wrote songs about it, and then sang together, but they never broke up as a band.
I don't know.
Okay, whatever.
I'm not 75.
Music is the.
I don't know what Fleetwood Mac did.
So what I'm saying is this is not our first collaboration. I doubt it will be our last. We did the living room show for a decade together live, and one of the longest running shows in Brooklyn because even though it's virtual now, our friends took it over and have been running it for a few years. So I want to put it at age, what do you think, it's 16 years old now?
Well, we started it in 2006. So
okay, you're right. You can do the real math.
2006 to 2016, and then others have taken it over since then.
Gotcha. So we did that together. We made a child, and
that was a collaboration.
Pretty cool. That was a good collab. 50-50, I would say, on that one. And I liked doing this podcast with you. This was my very first podcast of my own, producing with someone. And not the first that I've been a guest on and not the first that I've been a host of, but the first that I got to create the content behind. So it was fun giving people my sense of humor, I guess, as best as I could bring it on short notice and high caffeination.
Low on carbs, though.
Oh, low on carbs, man. And I really liked getting to interact with you in a way. Yeah, not only was it, I think, helpful for our friendship and our relationship, but also business-wise, we bickered a lot less than when we did a live show together. Mm-hmm. Those, we were younger back when we started those. So we've matured. Don't you hate when people mispronounce words or pronounce words differently than you do? Whether they're saying it right or wrong. I had a teacher that would say mature, and I was like, mature?
Yeah. No, it sounds too close to manure when you say mature.
Mature.
Manure.
Whenever someone says the onus is on me, I always say the anus because it's just funnier. I like to mispronounce that one on purpose. Mm-hmm. And I liked having our dogs around, and I liked not having to dress up for this job. This was fun. I liked the payment of cereal before and or after the episode. I really appreciated any time anybody told us, like, hey, we just listened, and they would reference either via text or online. We just heard what you guys talked about, and here's my 2 cents.
Absolutely, yeah.
Friends and family, that was awesome.
Any listener out there, we appreciate you being here and tuning in and listening. And if there is ever a popular demand that we return, we will return for sure. Even if there's not a popular demand, there's a chance that we will return.
Against your will. We will both be here against your wishes, audience. Because we're not leaving the biz. But I think it'll be funny, however long this stays on the internet, to keep it as a time capsule for, when one of us will like snap and commit a crime, like at a convenience store, or just be on the highway, with wearing a diaper, and and people will then tune into this podcast and be like, now let's listen to every episode and find the Easter eggs that led them to this moment.
All the clues are there.
That's right. Which is something I originally wanted for this podcast, was to make it like a murder mystery, but play it out in each episode, like drop a clue each time that made the audience go, what? Is that for real? But I didn't listen to enough true crime to see how they do it.
I don't remember you saying that, and I don't even know how you would do that.
Cliffhangers. That's okay. Stay tuned for my next project. I'm going to figure out how to do it.
150 cliffhangers.
Anyway, thanks for working with me, Luke. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yep. Thank you all.
And thanks mostly to the kid for staying in school. Thanks for joining us today. If you had a great time, let us know on social. Follow Kid is in School on Twitter and The Kid is in School on Instagram. Subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Be sure to throw us one of those 5-star ratings and share with your friends. Oh, and do it quickly before the kid gets home.